I'm a full-time technician on wastewater treatment systems, preferably alternative wastewater treatment systems. What we're going to be going over today is an Advantex AX20 module. Alright. Some of the basic tools you'll need are a water hose, possibly a drill. You really need like a stick with like a little hook on the end just to access some of those things that are 3 feet below grade. After you have your water hose set up, all your leads open, go ahead and go to your control panel and turn that system off. Go ahead and make sure everything is in the off position. Go ahead, double check that the breaker's off. Alright, now we're going to start the service. First thing you want to do is go over to your trash side of your processing tank. Okay? This is your processing tank. That's what it looks like on the pump vault side of the processing tank. Now you have a effluent screen in there that filters the effluent to the pump. And you also have floats which activate the pumps and also time and do additional features. Alright, well, we're not going to get too much into that today, but I just wanted to show you an overview of what we're going to be sort of messing with today. Alright, and let me start off by saying I am in no means trying to tell people to go out there and service your own system in your backyard. It's highly illegal. There's laws and regulations in place to where you have to have a third-person maintenance provider if you have one of these systems. By law, an alternative wastewater treatment system. Okay? So, I know a lot of people are going to ask me, if I know how to do it, why can't I do it? Well, that's why. There's regulations and laws. You know, you could feel like doing it one year, but then next year you might not feel like cleaning it. And guess what? That following year, you're going to be contaminating groundwater with polluted effluent. I mean, that's the bottom line. And who knows what else? You could jeopardize wildlife. Who knows from there? All right, now let's get to the service. First off, I'm going to start with cleaning the RSV. This is your reciprocating splitter valve. Alright, now it comes right out of this mount pretty easily. But first thing I'm going to do is, because I see some unfriendly looking spiders there, is I'm going to rinse it off the side. Sorry about that. We had a little hose malfunction and my nozzle got clogged. Alright, back to the service. Here's your RSV, your reciprocating splitter valve. We're just going to, just kind of rinse it off around just a little bit, so you're not putting your hands just straight onto some venomous, poisonous spiders or hazardous, bacteria. So let's just kind of rinse that a little bit. Pull it straight up out of the slot and shake it up and down like that. You can hear that ball. I don't know if y'all can hear it. There's a ball in there, and that keeps it from staying open all the time. Okay, after you removed and shook your RSV, now you want to rinse it. Okay. You want to flush the inside of it. So I'm going to, flush it. And any kind of bacteria that gets on the ground, I know people are probably like, oh, he's getting stuff on the ground. Well, just to let you know that this system only does 90% of the cleaning to this effluent. So that means that the ground does the final 10% of the treatment process, okay? Now what happens that what's going on here is, all right, I'll show you how this treatment train works, okay? Your effluent, or your gray water, your wastewater, comes in through this inlet pipe you see right under that RSV. It comes from the house and drops into here. From that point, when the pump kicks on, well, the pump doesn't kick on until it reaches the appropriate level, or at times, if it's by timer, and the pump kicks on. Pump kicks on, anyways, it gets sucked up through the RSV, right? And if you look at the rings that mount, it has a slot where it separates. It tries to separate the solids from the liquids, okay? And after it does that, it spritzes over this textile media right here. This is your Advantex module, okay? Now each one of these sheets are textile media filters, okay? This whole thing in itself is one big textile media filter. All right, and what happens is that the effluent that's clear spritzes out over this media, drains through, and the clear stuff goes to your discharge tank over here. Now in here, it would go from here to your drain field, where it would then dose the drain field, and that's where the ground does the final 10% of the process. Okay? Alright, now back to the routine maintenance. We flushed our RSV. I can hear that ball nice and good. Usually means it's pretty good when you can hear that ball. Okay? It's not clogged. So we'll sit that off to the side. Alright? Now this is where we come back over here to the vault. Okay? I see some spider webs, a couple spiders. I'm gonna go get my hose and I'm gonna rinse it down a little bit. Alright. Yeah. The only reason I'm really rinsing this down a little bit thorough is because I'm about to have to lay down and unhook that disconnect right on that pump right there I'm spraying. Okay? Alright, give me a second while I disconnect this pump. Well, I can actually try and show you because I'm that good. Check this out. This is what I do. I'm going to take this lead, I'm going to sit it right here so I'm just not laying straight in the dirt or whatever else is on the ground. Alright? Now I'm going to get down here. This is where my back hurts every day from doing this. I'm untwisting the pump. Usually you can do it by hand. Sometimes you'll need a set of channel locks. It really depends on who put it on there and how tightly they did it. Alright. Now that we got the pump unhooked, we can pull this pump out. Which, this pump is a high head turbine. Okay? Now what that means is the high head turbine receives water midway up the pump. If you look right there, that grid is where the water goes in. It sits up off the bottom of your vault to kind of, so it's not constantly getting clogged by sitting down in the sludge in the bottom. Alright? So, we spray off our pump. These pumps are really good. So you don't have to be too thorough with them. You just want to make sure that mesh is clean so it can receive water pretty good. Alright, it cleans up pretty easily. Okay, now flush the force main of your pump. That's a very important thing because you can have buildup in there. And make sure you don't have a check valve on your force main, because if there's a check valve and you go to rinse down in this thing, it's gonna shoot right back out at you and splash you right in the face. And trust me, this is not the appropriate place or time to get shit-faced, as much as y'all like to get shit-faced, not on my job. It is not good to get shit-faced. All right. So back to the service. We cleaned our pump. You know, I'm not going to do a complete thorough job right now in detail. I'm just kind of going over the basis of what we're doing here, okay? Alright. Okay, next I'm going to unhook my floats from that bracket. And here's my floats. This is basically how your system tells the pump how to kick on. Tells if the system is in low level and alarms, and it's got a high level float, you know, that says the system's in high level, and it has an audible alarm that sounds, and it's pretty loud. You can actually hear it inside the house from that control panel. Okay? All right, back to the treatment. All right. So, now that we have the floats unhooked, we're going to remove the effluent screen. Okay? Now this thing right here. Okay? This is what filters the solids before it goes into your pump. Alright. It kind of reads that now. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and sit this pump back down in that slot. It'll kind of hold that vault down too for me. Because you do not want to drop that pump down into that tank, because that is not fun trying to fish that out. Alright, these filters usually can weigh anywhere from 20 pounds to 100 pounds, depending on how clogged it is. And yes, it can weigh at least 80 pounds, and I can barely get them out of the hole with two hands. Sometimes I'll have to rinse them off some straight in the vault just to lift them out and bring them over to the trash side. Because that's what you do, you bring it over to the trash side and rinse. Okay, and a lot of people are like, oh, how are you really cleaning something? And you'll see that's not right. That shit was disgusting. Alright. Okay. Yeah, some people think that, they're like, how are you really cleaning something if you're just spraying it off and the stuff's going right back in the trash tank? Well, that's where you need to understand what we're doing here. We're just rinsing it off for preventative maintenance so it doesn't get clogged, because if this filter gets clogged, what usually happens is that it causes an aggressive drawdown in that pump vault. Now what that means is that within this vault right here, the water level drops rapidly because that filter's clogged and it just sucks down in there. Okay? Sucks down so hard in there that the outside will be 5 to 6 inches at least above, you know, how far that's dropped. And when that happens, your low level float, the water can go all the way down to where that low level float drops. And when that drops, it starts alarming low level. Okay? So let's finish cleaning this pump off. And again, guys, you don't have to be, you know, you're not trying to get it sparkling white and all that stuff. You're just making sure it's clogged. It's not clogged, and that, you know. With these, I go by weight, okay? You know, they practically weigh nothing when they're pretty clean. So I start out with barely being able to lift them, you know, with one hand, sometimes taking two hands. And after I clean them, I can lift them with one finger, okay? So I got that side cleared. You see how I prop that up on that mount? Watch what I do here. Instead of fighting to try and get that to sit up there, go ahead and just bring your effluent screen to the back and drop it. Sits just like that. How easy was that? Pretty easy. And just make sure you don't drop your filter or nothing inside there. If you drop it in there, you know, you got to fish it out, and it can be a little difficult. But the number one thing on this job is to never go in the tanks, especially by yourself. Alright? Occasionally we'll have to pump one down and go down inside of it to inspect for damage, you know, after earthquakes, or, you know, if it's constantly going to a high level and we're thinking that there's groundwater infiltrating it, you know, we might have to go inside to try and identify that cause of that exfiltration or infiltration, so to speak, because sometimes it can get out of the system, sometimes it can get into the system. It just happens. It's, you know, these things aren't just airlock sealed, you know. People are like, oh, why does my tank get water in it? Why isn't it sealed? Well, because it's just one of them things. Like, alright, back to the point. I can pick this up with one finger pretty much. You know, here's another tactic. You sit up just like that. You know, you just back up a little bit when you're doing this now. And any kind of bacteria that honestly gets on the ground, guys, I'm telling you. You know, you see me doing this right now. And if a little bit of that stuff splashes out there, it's not a big deal. For one, I always try to rinse down a little bit, you know. And two, any of that bacteria will die off in a couple days anyways, you know. Because it hasn't been exposed to the elements that it's in once it goes on that ground. Alright, we clean the filter. We're going to insert the filter back. Okay. Put the filter in. I'm not going to push it all the way down yet because I want to reset my floats. Okay? Now they have these zip tied, so it makes it a little easier to do with one hand. So, put that back in that groove. Now make sure your floats are sitting right. So watch that bottom float go up. Okay? Alright. Now, the next part of the job is cleaning our media. Okay? We're going to flush this pod, because if you don't flush this pod, you're going to have a buildup in there, and it can actually build up in your RSV and clog your RSV, you know, and that could lead to problems. So let's go ahead, open up these laterals, pop these open, and watch out for these brown recluses hanging around right here. Okay, we got those open. Alright, now we put the system in test mode, now when you put the system in test mode, what it does is pumps kick on for 30-second intervals, and you know, it pretty much runs a 30-minute test cycle. So at this point, you know, we would turn the system on and put it in test mode. But I forgot one major thing. I forgot to hook the pump back up. Now, if I would have kicked this pump back on, it would have just come spraying out the top of that force main. So now I gotta hook my pump back up before I can put it in test mode. Spray that back off. Okay. Just make sure you got that kind of lined up. And just make sure you get that. Put some pressure down on it. Make sure it's nice and tight. Now, if you have to, you can hold on to the bottom of that force main and then wrench on it. I got it pretty good. Alright. Now, we gotta put it back. We gotta put it in test mode, or you really don't have to put it in test mode. You can just force on the recirc pump. And being we only have a two-way toggle switch, our pump won't stay in the on position, okay? I'm running the pump, you see the contactor kick on, kick off, okay? I can't, it's not a three-way toggle, so I can't put it in the manual position. So what I'm gonna do here is, there's often these little clips inside that are sticking right here. Alright, I figured this tip out when I first started. This clip happens to fit onto that. Amazing. It's like they thought about this stuff, or it's a coincidence. Alright, now that I got the recirc pump on, that my laterals and my media should be flushing. See here? I'll push that over so it's just not draining straight out in the ground. And if you see how dark that water is, take note of how, you know, how nasty that water looks, how murky it is. Alright? In a few minutes, that's going to clear up to crystal clear just about. Well, it should if everything's working right. And that's where they say you can almost drink the water at the end of the system. They say it's 90% clean. 90%. Okay? Now look how dirty that water is. I would not even think about drinking that, even if I was freaking dehydrated about to die. Well, let's wait a few minutes after it runs, okay? I can already see an improvement over here coming out. So let's start spraying off media. Alright, and spraying off media is a little more time consuming, but it really don't take much time, you know? But it's one of the most time consuming parts of a routine service, I guess. So watch what I do here, alright? I'm a little more tedious than most with cleaning these pods just because I don't like the stuff splashing on my legs and stuff while I'm cleaning it. So I do a quick over rinse. Let's stop that lid. Can you see all that stuff on there? Yeah. Kind of rinse the sides a little bit real quick. So, you know, the point of this is just to flush this pod. Or just, you know, you don't want to get this stuff too clean, because this is where the process takes place, in this pod right here. Alright, clean this media is hot pretty easy, okay? You take your hose and you pretty much just want to make sure that it's flowing in between each of those drapes. Now this media is a little cleaner than most, and it's a little easier to clean than most, because the drape, it's a newer Advantex module, which means there's less drapes, and that also there's a wider space in between. Now you can imagine with not much space in between that it would clog pretty easily. Alright, yep, you just do this all the way down. You know, and you see right here, my next one, how it's bridging. You know, it's starting to clog. Now watch what I do. See how it's starting to seep up? If you get a little more pressure, you can actually flush it and get it to go down. See? Don't get come back up here no more, do you? Alright. Alright. Now we just, you know, finish spraying this stuff off. Like I said, you don't have to be too thorough with this stuff. You're really just getting in between and making sure you don't have a bunch of, you know, like, buildup in the bottom. 25 minutes in this video. I know I'm going to do a lot of cutting it down and stuff. Let's hope I can do it. I think I made about 30 attempts before I made this video at trying to just start recording, until I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to record the whole damn thing. You know, I'll say some stupid shit and it's fun. Go back and delete it. Alright. Continue cleaning the pod. You can already see it's starting to clear up. Look at that time when I have it clean. Okay, now look at the effluent down there. It's pretty clear. Pretty clear. Probably ain't too clear over here. Well, you can already see it's starting to clear up. It's kind of cloudy now, but we want it clear because that means that it's running really good. And this full service usually takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour if you don't run into any problems. That's if you don't run into any problems. Usually takes me about 45 minutes to an hour. There's a few other things we got to do here for paperwork reasons, because after we do a service, we got to file a report to the health department. Pretty much letting the health department know everything we did and how it looked, the quality, that effluent quality, because that's what matters. We're trying to save the planet. That's really what we're doing here. They say over 70% of groundwater pollution comes from your conventional wastewater treatment. Now, this is an alternative. This is new high-tech stuff. Came out in the past 16 years. So, where that groundwater pollution comes from, that's, from them systems they installed 20, 30 years ago. Haven't been seen in years. Those guys are just literally just dumping contaminated groundwater. Dumping contaminated water into the ground. That we're raising our kids. We're raising our kids here, trying to show them the right things to do, but yet we can ignore things like that. Okay, I got that pretty good. Like I said, you don't get it too perfect. As long as it's draining good. You don't see it filling up with water, do you? This box is only about 2-3 feet deep. It's not like it goes down 6 to 8 feet. Okay. Oh yeah, it's getting clear now. Yeah, everything's getting pretty damn clear now. There's a few other things we got to do here. One main thing being we got to do a sludge test. That is checking the solids on the bottom of these tanks. Okay. Because when you traditionally just look over here and you're like, this tank's almost look full. They look full. When do you get that pump soon? We hear that a lot from uninformed homeowners. They look at these tanks, they're like, it almost looks full. I need to get it pumped. No. That's the normal operating level for these systems. It takes a certain amount of water for these systems to function. So when we do get one of these systems pumped, we don't get them just pumped dry and just, leave. We got to put almost 1,000 gallons of fresh water back into the system just for it to function. Because you don't want it to just fill up with just sludge from the house, because that could lead to problems. So, to measure if your tank needs to be pumped out, if it's time to get a pump out, you check the sludge and the scum. Now your sludge is the stuff that sits at the bottom, okay? It sits at the bottom. And your scum is your top layer that sits at the top, alright? And in between is like your gray water, okay? FOGs, fats, oils, and greases, they sit at the top and almost form like a crusty layer on top, which could lead to problems if you get too much FOGs in your system. So we constantly are checking scum and sludge levels every time we come out to do a service, just to make sure. Because if you get too much sludge in there, it can lead to your effluent screen clogging, your pumps clogging, it can pretty much lead to system failure if you do not keep up with these things. And for one of these systems that go from anywhere from $15,000 to $40,000 just for a residence, and it's probably not worth the risk of, you know, just letting it go for 15 years. And, you know, we have some where people came to us and they haven't had this system, you know, serviced in 8 years since it was installed. And we barely saved the systems. You know, we get out there, it's, you know, the most pungent, nastiest smelling stuff. They've, you know, it's just bad. The pumps are dead. We gotta replace pumps. Alright, but I'm getting off topic here. Okay, so one of the final things in the service you need to do, or, you know, you can do it in a different order. It really, that part's not too big of a deal. There's certain things you gotta do in order, but